Hello and welcome back to some more Baldur's Gate 3. So I think I found it. I think I have found the 5.5e mods equivalent to Vanilla BG3's Tavern Brawler plus Strength Elixir equals broken formula. The problem I'm having is I can't decide whether or not this combination that I found is a bug or a feature. Now, normally I wouldn't center a build around what I would consider a bug, not because I think I'm above all of that, but simply because if it's a bug, the mod or the dev could at some point in any point in time come along, push to an update, and the bug is gone. And therefore, the video I've made is now irrelevant, and then I have to go back, update it, and blah blah blah. And I am far too lazy to do that sort of thing. So, as you can see, that's where the problem lies. And that's why I'm pushing this out to you guys to see what the community thinks. Is this a bug or is this a feature? So the combination itself is pretty simple. It is basically a combination of the spell Bloodbane Rune from the Sangromancy spell list, a third-party set of rules created by Grim Hollow that's been included in the 5.5e mod, and the Illrigger class, specifically the Architect of Ruin subclass, which is also a third-party uh, content published by MCDM. Now, both of these rule sets are separate from each other but have been combined together into the 5.5e mod. The fact that they are two separate publishers does come into play later on in the video. So the first half of the equation is the Bloodbane Rune spell. It is a first level Sangromancy spell and it is a damage rider spell. What that means is it will apply an extra 1d4 radiant damage to your weapon attacks once you cast it. Uniquely for a damage rider spell, it gains a benefit for each level above the first level slot when you cast it. For example, if you cast it at second level, the damage becomes 2d4 extra radiant damage rather than 1d4. If you cast it at third level, it becomes 3d4, and so on and so forth until you get to 6th level spell when you will get 6d4 extra radiant damage on your weapon attacks. Now the second half of the equation comes from the Illrigger class, specifically the Architect of Ruin subclass. Now, the Architect of Ruin subclass is the wizard subclass of the Illrigger class, and so it is able to do a little bit of magic. It's technically a 1/3 caster class, so it gets very, very limited spell slots. So let's put both of these together. You are a Illrigger, 3rd level. You select Architect of Ruin as your subclass. You select Bloodbane Rune as one of your first level spells. You currently only have access to first level spell slots. Nothing else. You cast Bloodbane Rune on yourself. The result is as if you've cast the spell at a 6th level. Yes, that's right, you heard me. The game reacts as if you cast using a first level spot as a 6th level slot. Now, from all the testing that I've done, the Architect of Ruin is the only class and subclass that has access to this spell that does this. And conversely, every other spell that the Architect of Ruin has does not get upcast in this way. The only one that has this feature or bug applied to it is Bloodbane Rune. Yes, yeah, okay. I can hear you shouting bug at your computer screen or at your phone across space and time. I get it. I feel exactly the same way when I realize this, all right? I feel you. But why? Because every reason that I can come up with as to why this is a bug can also be applied to Vanilla BG3's Tavern Brawler plus Elixir combo, which isn't a bug. So I'm going to present to you the four arguments that have been rattling in my brain for the past few days as to why Bloodbane Rune plus Architect of Ruin has to be a bug. But then I'm going to look at Tavern Brawler through the same lens and try to apply the same reasoning to Tavern Brawler. And if Tavern Brawler also meets the criteria for that argument, then we go back to square one because we want this to be equal, right? We want to use the same set of criteria to determine if something is a bug and whether or not something is a feature. And if all the arguments that I come up with that says Bloodbane Rune is a bug can also be applied to Tavern Brawler plus Elixir, then yeah, we've got a problem. So, argument one, the sheer audacity. So, I believe we can all come to the agreement that getting the benefits of casting a spell at 6th level, but only requiring the use of a 1st level spell slot is broken. I don't believe anyone will argue with that, okay? That is insanely powerful. However, one of the arguments that I can come up with is because Illrigor and Sangromancy are from two different publishers merged together into a entirely new rule set, 5.5. Could there be possibly some obscure interaction of the three different rule sets that somehow makes this acceptable? But Tavern Brawler from Vanilla BG3 has no explanation anyway. Um, there is no in-game explanation as to why Larian decided Tavern Brawler needed this massive, ridiculous buff that it has given it. It just exists and we accept it. But I'm giving the creator of this mod the benefit of doubt. Maybe there is some obscure interaction that, there's a line somewhere in the Illrigor rule set that says the Architect of Ruin is, for some reason or other, very adept at casting blood magic or something along those lines. So that would be a rule that could be used to apply this result into the game. There shouldn't be a rule that makes this possible. I just want to make that clear. I don't believe that such a rule should exist. In saying that, when I look at Tavern Brawler, I don't think there should be anything that doubles your modifiers for both to hit and damage. That is in itself just as audacious, right? Even more audacious because it doubles two sides of the math equation for the bounded accuracy of the game, to hit and damage. So we can't use pure audacity as a metric to determine that the Architect of Ruin plus Bloodbane Rune combo is a bug, because if we think about it, Tavern Brawler plus Strength Elixir is just as ridiculous and audacious. So that leaves us back to square one, and we again have to rethink the problem. I'm also going to start just shortcutting the combos to Tavern Brawler and Bloodbane Rune. Okay, just makes it a little bit easier to talk about. And then we come to the second argument, which is the power spike that this combo provides the player is far too much and far too early in the game, thus breaking the game. So let's examine this. The earliest you can gain access to the Bloodbane combo is level 3. Architect of Ruin subclass at 3rd level, and pick Bloodbane Rune as one of your spells. Easy. So, Bloodbane Rune cast at 6th level provides 64 extra radiant damage to your weapon attacks. The maximum number of attacks that you can have at third level is 2. You have to be dual wielding weapons for this to work. So you'll have a main hand attack and an offhand attack. So 2 attacks equaling about roughly on average 24 points of extra radiant damage, which is a lot, especially at third level when the majority of the enemies that you meet are roughly around 11, 12, 20 points of HP. So you can one-shot pretty much the majority of the things that you encounter at this point in time. So let's look at Tavern Brawler. Tavern Brawler, the earliest you can gain access to that is 4th level because Tavern Brawler is a feat, not a class feature. So Tavern Brawler doubles your modifiers in terms of your attack rolls and damage rolls. So if you are drinking an Elixir of Hildran Strength, you will have a strength of 21, giving you a modifier of +5. So Tavern Brawler will double this to a +10. So your 2 attacks that you have at this level if you are a monk, a main hand punch and an offhand punch, results in an extra 20 points of flat damage. There's no averages, it's not a dice roll, it is just strictly 10 points of damage added on to your punches. So just 4 points less than what the Bloodbane rune combo provides. But the other thing that Tavern Brawler does, it also doubles the modifier you have in terms of your attack rolls. So instead of getting a +5 to your attack rolls from your strength score, you're getting a +10. That is an extra 25% chance to hit. So the question is the extra 4 points on average extra damage that you can get from the Bloodbane combo at level 3 more powerful than the extra 25% plus 20 points of damage that you get from Tavern Brawler a level later? I would say no. I would actually argue that the Tavern Brawler combo is far more powerful. Even though you get it at a level later, the impact to your gameplay is far more noticeable because the chance to hit has increased so much. You, at that point in the game, you can barely miss a punch. So we can't use massive power spike as the reason to why Bloodbane Rune feels like a bug, because arguably Tavern Brawler does exactly the same thing. Actually, it probably does it even better. You get it a level later, but the impact on your gameplay is far more noticeable. And then we come to argument number 3, the unfairness. Right, let's examine this. The Architecture Rune is the only class from my experimentation that is able to cast the Bloodbane Ritual at 6th level whilst utilizing a 1st level spell slot. That is inherently unfair to every other class that has access to that spell because they won't be able to do that until level 11. Right? So that's 8 levels later. Inherently unfair. Yes, definitely so. Again, we look at Tavern Brawler. Tavern Brawler can, at the highest level, their bonuses equal to, I believe it's between 22 and 28 bonus that they get to their dice rolls to hit. Now, look for a Paladin. Paladins are one of the classes that cannot utilize Tavern Brawler in any meaningful way. Smites don't work on unarmed attacks and smites don't work on throws. So, Paladin is a good example of a class that cannot utilize Tavern Brawler. Is it fair that the Paladin's maximum bonus is 23, which is only one more than the Tavern Brawler Monk's minimum bonus. So I'll say that again. The maximum bonus a paladin can have utilizing elixirs of storm giant strength, a weapon that is +3, max stat proficiency score at +4, the naked statue bonus of +4, and then an additional +4 from having a bless spell on them. That equates to roughly a maximum of, I believe, 16 to 22. No, 16 to 23, sorry. Now, if you apply all the same bonuses for a Tavern Brawler Monk, you get a maximum of 22 to 28. Is that fair? I would say no. Again, that is inherently unfair to the Paladin who can only look at those extra 6 points that the Tavern Brawler Monk has and weep in despair because they can never get those from anywhere else, right? So, again, the unfairness argument doesn't hold water because the same can be applied to the Tavern Brawler. The Tavern Brawler combo is inherently unfair to any class that can't utilize it. So, what do we left with? And then we come to the final and strongest argument: contradiction of the rules. So, utilizing a first level slot and getting 6 level spell slot results is essentially breaking the rules of the game. Okay? That we, again, we can all agree to this. Uh, I don't think that is in any way controversial. So, and there are other things as well. I believe the text of the spell states that the damage only occurs once per turn. It doesn't. From my testing, it occurs on every weapon attack on your turn. But, however, I will also state that this inconsistency is applied consistently. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean if a level 3 Sangromancy wizard casts the spell Bloodbane Ritual at level 1 on themselves and they are wielding 2 hand crossbows, dual wielding them, the +4 that the level 1 Bloodbane Ritual was cast at will apply the +4 radiant damage to both of the attacks from their dual wielded hand crossbows. So, even though the Architect of Ruin has upcasted to level 6, the inconsistent application of the once per turn rule is consistently applied for everyone, if that makes sense. Okay, but we still stuck with the fact that we have a class that breaks the game by ignoring a very, very specific rule of the game itself, that you should only gain the benefits of a spell slot when you're using that level spell slot. Okay? Now, again, we look at Tavern Brawler. Does it do something similar? And yes, it does. So Tavern Brawler breaks the rules of the game by applying itself to when it shouldn't be applied. What do I mean? So this is specifically for Tavern Brawler druids. When a Tavern Brawler druid transforms into a beast shape that has a higher dexterity score and a very, very poor strength score, Tavern Brawler applies both the negative modifier from the strength score and the positive modifier from the dex score into both the damage and attack rolls. That is not how this works. For attacks, the game expressly states that it will choose between strength and dexterity, whichever is higher, to determine your attack and damage rolls. That is one of the things that they tell you within the game, right? If you are using a finesse weapon, the game itself will determine which of your ability scores is higher and use the most appropriate one. Because Tavern Brawler did not initially work for druids in their beast forms, and Larian forced it to work on druids and their beast form, this broke Tavern Brawler. This made Tavern Brawler break the rules of the game by applying itself forcefully for those instances where the druid has shapeshifted to a form that has a higher dexterity than it does strength. Admittedly, there's only a couple of these forms in the druid's arsenal. Namely, I believe it's the spider and the dire raven. However, it still does it. Its Tavern Brawler still breaks the rules of the game. It still contradicts the rules of the game in its application. So, again, we are at an impasse. Both the Bloodbane combo and the Tavern Brawler combo break rules within the game in itself. The only difference is the Bloodbane combo is to the benefit of the player, whereas the Tavern Brawler combo that breaks the rules is to the detriment of the player. Is that enough to explain the brokenness feel of the Bloodbane combo? I can't say that it does. Um, so we are at an impasse. I go back to this circular reasoning of I look at the Bloodbane combo and go, no, that has to be a bug. I come up with a reason as to why it's a bug. I apply this reason to Tavern Brawler. And I realize that the same reasoning is applicable to Tavern Brawler, and therefore I cannot use that reason to convince myself that the Bloodbane combo is a bug, because Tavern Brawler is not a bug. And then I look at the Bloodbane combo again and realize it has to be a bug. So again, we are in this circular reasoning, and I want you to tell me whether or not you think this is the Bloodbane combo is a bug or a feature. If you have any other arguments that are along the same lines of this is Bloodbane combo has to be a bug because of this, and then you apply that same argument to Tavern Brawler and you go, oh crap. If you have one that I haven't played out before, put it in the comments. I want to hear it. However, if you also have an argument as to why the Bloodbane combo is a bug and is unrefutable and cannot be applied to Tavern Brawler itself, I also want you to put that in the comments, because I want those. The 60% of me that believes Bloodbane combo is such a bug needs that at the moment, and the 40% that's blocking this entire thing of me just moving on with my life needs to sit down and shut up, but I can't make it. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's it for now, and as always, thanks for watching, and as Mol says,
Now scram! Before I get emotional!